listeners, welcome back. I'm Suzanne A. Wells, and this is episode number 55 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is April 6th, 2022. Kathy Hermans is my guest, and yes, she is a former criminal prosecutor who is loving retirement, traveling, and of course, buying and reselling on eBay. Before we get started, I want to recognize some resellers who made some very kind comments about this podcast on my Facebook group. And I am so flattered. I just want to recognize these folks for giving me this feedback because it makes me want to keep doing these podcasts. So Marlene Ward posted this. She said, I just had to take a quick break here. Over these past few days, we are de-winterizing the barn, getting all the stalls deep cleaned, and adding fresh shavings. As I've mentioned to you before, we have Bluetooth speakers in the barn, and we, Sagebrush, Elvis, and Dude, have just finished listening to your most recent podcast. Those are her horses who recognize my voice because they have heard me so much over the past few years. Marlene continued, the problem now is I don't have any more episodes to listen to, so I searched for another eBay podcast. My goodness, what a big disappointment. Hosts talk too fast, never get to the point, tell too many inside jokes, and much more. Just a big thank you for your style, approach, and delivery of usable eBay information. Keep the podcasts coming. I so appreciate this feedback because I record these episodes. I hear from a sprinkling of people, but you never know who is hearing the information and if it's helping them. So Chloe Smith commented, I totally agree. I listened to your episodes at work and blew through them all in a couple of weeks. I love the interviews. I just want to hear people talk about selling without all the other nonsense. And that's exactly the way I feel about podcasts. Just get to the point and tell me something useful. Or if it's for entertainment, that's different. But I really do like to focus on the education. And then Linda Machado said, I also finished a lot of the podcasts, so I started from the beginning again. It's amazing all the new information I picked up that passed me by the first time. I'm now keeping notes. Even the podcasts I thought I would have no interest in the subject matter, I gleaned at least one little gold nugget. Suzanne is really the best. Thank you so much, Linda. I really appreciate that. And then Genevieve, I don't even know how to say your last name. I'm going to give it a shot here. Polifroni, definitely Italian. She agreed. And then Anne Rice said, other reselling podcasts and YouTubers just promote other podcasts and YouTubers. Not enough meat in their content. It is quite annoying. I get straight up relevant information here. So thank you all for commenting and letting me know how I'm doing because feedback is critical when you are a content creator. You can just keep putting it out there, and if you don't get any feedback, you don't know what people like, what they don't like, what they want you to keep doing. And what I'm hearing is that the majority of the people like the interviews, and I love them because I always learn something new. And these are not scripted. We just kind of organically let the conversation go where it's going to go. And that's why they're so fun because I never know what is going to pop up. So I really enjoy doing them, and I'm so glad that that is carrying over to the audience. So, thank you again. And I always welcome your feedback. You can reach out to me on Facebook or my email, which is below the podcast. So, let's get to know Kathy.
Okay, today we have Kathy, who is another West Coast guest. So it's really early for her this morning.
Very.
Yeah, how are you doing this morning? It's what, 8 o'clock your time?
8 o'clock. I'm not usually this pulled together by 8 a.m., but today is a special day. So, yes.
That's right, it is. And speaking of early mornings, I keep seeing on the news that they're going to do away with having to change our clocks.
Yeah. And that would be great.
I think everybody hates that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good when they had a reason for it, like kids needing to get on the school bus in the daylight, but I think that's largely gone away. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Everybody hates that November through March. It's just like, it's so depressing. And yeah, Christmas is in there, but I'm one of those people that gets that seasonal affective disorder. Like I know it's real because I just feel different and just I put up my Christmas tree after Halloween now because that's bright and cheerful and I can, turn it. It's like a lamp. I just turn it on.
Right. Yeah. We have friends that actually use those lights throughout the year that are supposed to help that affliction or whatever you call it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just if you're sensitive to stuff like that or, prone to depression or whatever, it can't make it worse because it's just darkness is not cheerful. So you have to make it cheerful.
Absolutely.
So hopefully that will happen.
That would be great.
So exactly where are you located?
We are located in Springfield, which is right next door to Eugene, home of the Ducks.
Okay.
We're about 2 hours south of Portland.
Okay. And on Netflix, there are a lot of the Netflix originals filmed in Portland, Seattle. Mm-hmm. And I wonder what's going on with that. Is it cheaper to film out there?
Probably cheaper, certainly cheaper than California. So,
okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. I don't know if you remember or if you're an Anne Rule fan. She wrote Small Sacrifices.
Yes.
Okay. That was based on the Diane Downs case. Well, that happened here in Springfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And what's funny about that is I remember I read the book and they referred to Springfield as Eugene's ugly stepsister. And that always struck me as funny, but we like it here. It's very conservative and very small, but we like it.
And so wasn't Farrah Fawcett in the movie?
Yes, she was.
Okay. Yes, I do remember that. And so I've watched a couple of things on Netflix and it's like, wait, that diner was just in the last thing I watched. It was like two completely different. One was a movie and one's a series. And it's like, wait. And then the actors are even the same.
Yeah.
Like a Netflix production, they have their staff of actors and actresses. So it's like, am I going crazy or did I recognize that diner by the water? And, no, it is the same one.
Well, it's cheaper to keep using the sets over and over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay, well, we got that covered. So tell us how you got involved in eBay, how you got started.
It's a novel. I've always been drawn to antiquing and vintage. I kind of grew up on auctions. My mom and my sister would go. And I remember this one box lot I got for $2 and it had a jadeite mixing bowl in it.
Ooh.
I used that bowl till my kids broke it. So and I helped out with auctions. My ex-husband's sister and brother-in-law had an auctioneering company in rural Virginia. Mm-hmm. So we would go up on weekends and help them with the auctions. So I've been in a brick and mortar booth since the late 90s. I'm in 2 right now, but I am downsizing to 1. But I was just always scared of eBay. I was just paralyzed. So my husband bought me a camera when it was, still needing to use a camera. I still wouldn't do it. And I started watching your videos.
Okay.
I watched them clear back to when you were doing the eBay coach thing where you had the lists. Remember those?
Yes, I keep reinventing myself.
So it finally got me off the dime. And in late 2018, I think I listed my first few things. And I remember I bought this Mickey Mouse stocking for $2 at a little thrift store here. And it sold for $24.95, and I was hooked. That was the beginning.
So what do you think kept you away from eBay? What was the stumbling block?
The shipping was the biggest thing, I think. I was just scared I was going to do it wrong. And, and my sister was on eBay. She did eBay all the time. She's like, you can do this. You can do this. And I was like, I can't. But finally, I had enough confidence from watching you and a few other people to just go ahead and start. And that's the first thing, just get over that roadblock and start.
And that's a very common reason for people hesitating to start. 2 things that you said. One, the shipping. But eBay makes it so easy now. It's just, you just choose and, do calculate it or whatever. And it's like really hard to mess it up. And if you do mess it up, it's fixable. Everything is fixable. So if you change your mindset to what if I do something wrong to, if I do something wrong, I just need to figure out how to make it right. And the other thing is just afraid of doing something wrong in general.
Yeah.
And like nothing, unless you are really a shyster, really crooked and you're going on there with a plan to do things, to scam people or whatever, the average person is not going to really do anything wrong. You're not going to get suspended for one mistake.
Right.
You're not going to get kicked off if you do one thing wrong. You might get a warning, or you might list something that's Vero and you didn't know it. I get those maybe once a year. It's impossible to keep up with all of that. And eBay knows that. They just like, oops, don't do that again. You're like, okay. So you have to get over that initial fear of, I'm going to do something wrong, and just realize that millions of people do this. And if they do it, you can do it. So,
agreed. Well, yesterday I sold a couple of mugs to the same person, or it was yesterday, day before yesterday. And she said, hey, can you combine shipping? Well, that would have just terrified me early on. But now I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. And I'll send you a refund if there's an overage. And it worked out fine. Mm-hmm. So, I'm to that point where I can do that now without freaking out.
Yeah. Do you remember what year you started?
Late 2018. I sold a few things, and then unfortunately my mother passed New Year's Day of 2019.
Oh.
The next year was just a nightmare of trying to execute her estate and flying back to North Carolina multiple times to take care of the house and with my brother and sister. So I kind of put it on pause for about a year. Mm-hmm. And then of course COVID happened, and all of a sudden we're all selling like crazy. So that kind of got me back into it pretty heavily, 2020 and 2021.
So you've got almost 4 years into this.
Yes.
Okay. And that's a lot of time to learn.
Yeah.
I think people, expect to be an expert in a month. And it's just, this really is, you learn by doing.
Yes.
You just have to jump out there and start doing, and sell different kinds of things, and figure out what you like and what you don't like.
Yes, for sure.
On that note, let's talk about what you sell.
Well, I sell a smorgasbord of things. I started out really doing women's clothing. Actually found out I enjoy selling men's clothing quite a bit more, especially the larger sizes. and it's not a diss on women or anything, but I feel like the transactions go more smoothly. Men seem to know exactly what they want. They order it. It's just not a big hassle. And I like looking for that type of clothing. I started watching this guy based in California, and he specializes in men's clothing, has helped me. I found my first Peter Miller when we were on vacation this last month. And my husband is a hunter and a fisherman his whole life. So he knows the marine brands and that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff as far as men's clothing that I like to sell.
Oh yeah, like the Columbia vintage shirts and there's a lot of different brands that make those. Eddie Bauer, the outdoorsy stuff with the roll tab sleeves and all the pockets and the Velcro stuff. Yeah. And I also look for, I do some men's, but I like the vintage, like LL Bean fishing vests that have all the fun, like they wore on Golden Pond.
That's what I wear to garage sales.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of need that as a reseller. We got a lot of stuff to put in pockets, but
that's right.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great category to focus on.
I like that.
Because I mean, men's clothing covers a lot of things, and like I feel like dress shirts are pretty boring, but when you can find those interesting sport specific things, that helps. Yes,
it does. And I do love me a good mug. I love selling mugs. I feel like I've got the packing on those just down to a science. They're so easy to photograph. 6 photographs, you're done. And when I first started, I was thinking, okay, how do I ship these without breaking them? And so I watched this video, and the one thing I took away from it was, this may be something everybody knows about, but I didn't. Those little sleeves that come on the coffee cups, the cardboard sleeves, like Starbucks. So I save them. And then when I wrap the mug, I always take those sleeves and cut them in 2, and I wrap them around the handle to keep them from getting broken. And knock on wood, so far, nothing has arrived broken. And I've sold a lot of mugs.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about some of your notable sales, because you're a regular poster on the $100 sales thread.
Pretty regular, yes. Well, I think the first one of mine you posted was, we did a master bath remodel right at the beginning of COVID, and which was unfortunate, but that's what we did. And I was, of course, cleaning out all the cabinets, and I came across this drugstore bottle of the Jovan Patchouli, and my daughter smelled it, and she said, "Lord, Mom, throw that away." And I said, "Well, I'm just going to look it up." And it ended up selling for $150, and I was just blown away. It was something that couldn't have cost more than like $5 in the 80s. So vintage perfume, I really like to sell. I sold a bottle of, I think it's Tiffany for men. It was vintage. Picked it up at St. Vinny's for like $7, and I think it went for $175.
Nice.
So those are nice, steady sales. A lot of them are smaller than that, but very steady and easy to ship.
A lot of people refrain from selling vintage fragrances because they think it might have gone bad.
Oh, yeah.
Has that ever been an issue for you?
I had one bottle that I bought at a garage sale, and it was a men's fragrance, and it was sealed in the box. And when it arrived at its destination, she opened it, and it had just basically, I should have known better because it looked like it had been stored in the garage. So it was just basically dried out. And I just said, toss it. Here's your refund. Because I was in it for like $5. But I've only had one other issue with one leaking. And I don't think I've ever had anyone tell me that it didn't smell right. I mean, obviously, if it's already open, I check it to see if it's horrid, but I must not have a good nose because I would have tossed that Jovan.
I mean, I think you can tell if it's rancid, and it looks like it's all separated. And even if you shake it, it won't go back, you know, to what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a good test. Just if it smells rancid and it's like, you don't really know what it's supposed to smell like because unless you're an expert on all the different fragrances, but if you smell it and it's like, whoo, this is terrible, but then you can always pour it out and then just sell the bottle.
True. True.
Those sell for some good money. Even just the 80s fragrances, all that stuff by Prince Machiavelli that we used to hear on the commercials. I wouldn't say that Avon is a big seller, full or empty. There's a few, but it's the ones they don't make anymore that all of us old people used during our high school, and teenage years and stuff. So let me ask you, what year were you born?
56.
Okay.
So all right. I'm a Medicare child now. I'm 65.
So I never say how old are you, because 5 years in the future, your birth date never changes, but
that's true.
It's going to change. So it's relatable. So you're 10 years older than me. So you were a teenager in the 70s.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
graduated in 75.
Okay. So that's the stuff, is the flower child dresses and talk about some of the stuff that from your teenage years that either you found or you look for.
Oh, I would be looking for my favorite pair of pants in high school were these green plaid bell-bottom, low-waisted things that you wore with a wide white leather belt. And
Super Brady Bunch style.
Oh, yeah. So I had a pair of they were like clogs, the really high wedge ones, and they were covered in like green velvet. I just thought I was the cat's meow, So that kind of stuff I look for.
Those wooden clogs, stuff. The wooden clogs that had absolutely no padding. It's just like you're walking on a piece of wood.
Dr. Scholl's.
Well, there's those, but there was, I think, I had a pair of Mia clogs, MIA, and it was wood with some leather stapled to it. And I will never forget those shoes because I think I was in about 9th grade and I got home from school and my brother was sitting in front of the TV and we got into some kind of argument about something. And I just took off that clog and I just threw it at him and it hit him in the head. And I'm the worst thrower ever. Like I can't even draw a straight line. So I can't throw worth crap. And I could not believe it hit him. And so that is like a story in our family history of like, don't make Suzanne mad because she will throw her shoe at your head.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Well, my niece posted a thing on Facebook. She's going to prom. She's only 16. And actually, she's my great niece. I have to stop and think about that. She's my brother's granddaughter. And I happened to go back and look to my 1972 prom picture and saw the gunny sacks. I'm sure it was a knockoff because I'm pretty sure I didn't have that, but that's exactly what it looked like. So I wanted to send her that picture and say, this is what it was like 50 years ago.
50 years ago.
Think about that. It's scary. It's really scary when you think about it. So those kind of things, are so hot right now. Those are commanding such good prices if you can find them. I have no idea what happened to that prom dress.
I know we're all just kicking ourselves. Like who in the world would have believed that we regret throwing all that stuff away?
Right.
Like the velvet posters of our favorite bands and just, all the ticket stubs from concerts. And
right.
Whoever would have believed that stuff could be worth so much?
True.
The stuffed animals we had and we didn't know they were limited edition and just all that stuff. It's just everybody out there listening is like, yep. I got rid of my such and such and I cannot believe how much it's worth.
Well, my kids were born in the 90s. My daughter born in 90 and my son born in 92. And he was on the cusp of that Pokemon the beginning of Pokemon. He collected everything. And I remember selling some of his stuff at a garage sale. And I'm thinking now, oh dear. He does still have his cards, but most of the other stuff kind of went bye-bye, you know. But they helped me with the 90s stuff because they know all that niche. So that's good too.
Well, what's crazy is with the 90s, now all those kids are adults and they're wanting to reconstruct their childhood with all these toys that, you know, our kids had. And I found one the other day that was it's either Fisher Price or Play School. They're called Cozy, little stuffed animals that are like a blanket. There's like a thermal waffle weave blanket texture.
Okay.
And it's the exact one my son has. It's like he still has it in his childhood tub of stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I found this. And they sell for $80.
Oh, wow.
And I looked his up and I was like, yours sells for $100 because it's blue. And he's like, yeah, I want to keep it. It's 25.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, you were talking about good things that I've sold. I really enjoyed your plush courses.
Oh, great.
Yes, I picked up in Goodwill. It was a Gans, and I thought it was a Husky, and it was really cute, and it was 89 cents. So I brought it home and figured out it was a Timberwolf, and those sell well over 100.
Really?
Yeah, and there were only about 10 up at the time, and the sell-through rate was like 200%. And so I left it up. I got an offer of 100, turned it down, and I think about 2 weeks later it sold for full price, 135. So
wow.
And some of the other Gans, they're worth $10, but I don't know why this was so special.
That's when I have to research more before I do a course, a lesson on it, because I mean, there are so many brands of plush and you can't go by the brand. So it's just learning, like visual learning, like which one do I look for? But yeah, it's some of those Douglas plush are worth a lot. Most are worth nothing.
Right.
And so was this Timberwolf a giant one, or was it just
no?
regular?
It was like 6 inches, and he did not have the code. He did not have a tag. So it was just, but for some reason, people wanted him and they paid for him. I've got some other Gans. I filled a suitcase up with them when I went to visit my sister in North Carolina. But to find out, I mean, don't have hardly anything into them, but most of them are probably in that $10 to $15 range.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know. I found one that was, it wasn't even a brand. It was like made in China. It was a little girl dolly, it was like literally 8 inches, just soft, no plastic. It was very soft. And it had the tag on it that it was from like 1986. I was like, okay, for $1, I'll see what this is. And that sold for $100.
Wow.
Like immediately, like somebody's looking for this and it doesn't even have a brand on it. It was just made in China in 1986. So
that's crazy.
It's, I do go through the plush I pick up every single one and like move down the aisle and, step out of the way for people who are looking for stuff. It's like, oh, go ahead. I'm going to be here a while. But because the little ones fall to the bottom.
Right. So
if you're just like skimming for the giant Squishmallows on the top, you're missing a lot that's underneath. And it's an education. Like I wish there was a degree for, I have a Bachelor of Arts in stuffed animals.
You'd probably make one up. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll keep changing as time goes by. It's just going to keep evolving and more things are going to be worth money depending on, like the Squishmallows. They came out in 2018. I remember when they came out, I'm like, what are these things? And now that is just all the rage. And there were some that were limited edition. So they're just going to get more valuable because
right.
There's not as many, but I think I said this on a previous podcast. I was in Goodwill and in the furniture section, there was a giant one just sitting on the couch. Like some kid carried it around and then put it there. And I just grabbed it and it sells for about 50. But
No.
I can't even tell you how many people in the store were like, oh, you found one, you found one. Was it just put out? Was it on top? You know, blah, blah, blah. Are they putting out more? And I'm like, I don't know. This was over there sitting on the couch.
That's funny. Yeah, I've found a few of them, but not very many.
Yeah, that's a hot thing right now. Just like, you know, La La Loopsy dolls were hot, and the Doc McStuffins things were hot, and Juju pets, and just it's just a cycle it goes through. So
Right.
I don't generally like to focus on those kinds of things because their value decreases if it's just a hot trend. I like the things that were made, you know, the Fisher Price vintage stuff, like it's only going to get more valuable. So it's
Right.
like an evergreen kind of situation where it's too exhausting to try to learn every single trend and stay on top of it.
Right. Especially if you know that in 2 months or 3 months or whatever, it's going to be out, you know. Yeah, it is that will wear you out very fast.
Yeah, but those vintage LL Bean fishing vests, those are always going to be hot. So what is the item that you've sold for the most money?
I sold, and this had kind of a funny story. I came across 4 Ray Dunn little plates. They were maybe 5 inches across, and I didn't know what they were. They had the M for magenta on the back.
Mm-hmm.
I picked them up for $1.79 each and got them home and went, oh, it's her early stuff. And they had like on the back, some of her early stuff wasn't very well done. And so there were like glaze defects in the pottery, you know, on the backside, which I disclosed. And they sold for $300. I think that was my best sell. And this was in March. And in July, I get this message from a buyer, and she says, these plates have chips on the back. I want a full refund. And I'm thinking, they're not chips, they're glaze defects, and I disclosed them. And why would you pay $300 for something and you don't open it? She said, I just opened it. So she'd had it since March and hadn't opened it. I called eBay. They said, you're in the clear. So, but it was just weird, you know. I'm not sure why you would leave a package open for
that happened before. Like they've had it for a length of time, weeks, and they're like, oh, I just opened this. I mean, maybe they were out of town on an extended vacation and maybe hadn't got back to open their mail, or, you know, life blew up and they had a death in the family. They just put it aside and dealt with it later. I mean, that happens.
Sure.
Not everyone is, you know, waiting at their door for their item to be delivered and open it at that moment.
Right.
Things happen. So I don't know, but you did win that case.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They didn't bat an eye.
Was it past the 30-day return period?
Oh yeah, it was 4 months.
Oh, 4 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sold them in March. She wrote me in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That is kind of long.
Yeah. Maybe she's a QVC addict or something and just buys stuff all the time.
Yeah, you never know what happens. So, and I feel like sometimes folks that just have, you know, mental disorders, dementia, whatever it is, they just order. It's so easy just to go on the computer and shop, go on your phone and shop. And I mean, I've heard of people doing this. They don't know, they forget. And, you know, the grown children, it's a lot of times it's older people, and the grown children just have to take their phones away or whatever to keep them from doing all this online shopping, because it's like a new kind of addiction for our generation. Just, there's food addiction, alcohol addiction, drugs, and shopping is one of them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So could have been something like that. But so what other notable sales have you had?
Oh, let me think. I sold this was early on too, and I was really excited about it. I like to sell stitch kits because, they're so easy. And this one we like to do little day trips. My husband's very indulgent of my thrifting. So we'll do a day trip to a couple of towns, maybe within an hour of us, and just hit, 5 or 6 thrift stores. And I found this one up in a little town that's about half hour from us. And it was at Goodwill, and it was a felt stocking Busilla kit, and it was unopened. And I bought it. I think it was maybe $3.99. And I got out the car, and I'm looking at comps, and I'm going, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And I think it ended up selling for like $95. And I was really happy about that because I hadn't been doing it very long. And, I've sold some other kits that make good money. Some of them aren't huge, but they're very steady. People always seem to want them. And it's like you said, Christmas stuff, it sells all year. So I like to sell those because they don't take up much space.
So here you are at first afraid to sell on eBay, like hesitant. And then you start doing it, and you're, teaching yourself by watching social media and all that. And then you find these things, and it's like, this is real. So yeah, talk about that. Just like how you go out and learn, and then all of a sudden these things are right in front of you.
It's amazing. I still get such a kick out of it. It's like, when I see it, and I actually like doing the research part. That to me is fun, I was I call it St. Minnie's, but it's St. Vincent de Paul. Right. And I always look at the art, and I saw this, it was professionally framed, but it was a photograph, and it's black and white. So those sepia tones, and it was windmills. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but but it was signed. And so I actually took it up front and had them put it behind the counter because I was still shopping. It was like $8.99. And I almost forgot it when I went up to purchase the rest of my things. But, I want that photograph. And I get it home. And the guy's name is Michael Kenna, and he specializes in black and white photography. And I actually, when I saw what some of his work had gone for, this was framed in a gallery. I had an online estimate done, and they said $3,500 to $4,500. And I contacted a gallery in Texas that shows his work, and they confirmed that and said, we don't think he's ever been faked or anything. But now I can't bring myself to sell it, so it's hanging in my dining room.
You fell in love with it.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, it's very stark, but I've got it where there's no windows or anything around it, so it won't fade. But I stare at it and I go, I should sell this.
So would you sell it on eBay or to that gallery?
I think I would put it in a gallery on consignment would be my preference.
Yeah, because then you don't have to worry about a case being opened or someone claiming it's a fake.
Right. And that's by far the most valuable thing I've ever found. So I'm just kind of biding my time on it.
Yeah. Well, you'll find more stuff.
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
Out there looking. We didn't talk about your previous life before eBay because you are retired, right?
I am. Yes. I'm a retired lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not stressful at all.
Well, but thus the thrifting for therapy. That's what I always said. That was the therapeutic part. That's what brought us to Oregon. I went to undergrad at in Chapel Hill at UNC.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I graduated there in 79, put my then husband through law school there. And I was a dental hygienist. I got my Bachelor of Science in Dental Hygiene. I did that for 7 years. And then I started thinking about it. And I said, well, if he can do it, I can do it. So I applied and we ended up at the University of Oregon. So I graduated from there in 89. And I clerked for a judge for 1 year. And then I was hired by the district attorney's office. And that was my career for 25 years.
So you did, you were like on the prosecutor side.
Right. Criminal prosecution.
Okay. Wow. That's exciting.
It was exciting and it was a good job, but yeah, the outlet was the other stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I started off in criminal justice.
Oh, you did?
I studied that at Georgia State. One of my higher learning institutes was Georgia State, and I studied criminal justice for a couple of years. And I've just found it fascinating. And I want to do something to make a difference and, get criminals off the street and all that stuff. And we got to the part about autopsies and, seeing all these photos of crime scenes. And it's much more graphic than they show on TV.
Yes,
and
yes.
The part I couldn't get past was, the blood and guts didn't bother me. It was, this is someone's daughter. This is someone's mother. This is somebody's little child. And it was just terribly upsetting. It's like, I am not cut out for this. I got to do something else, because I just would lay awake at night thinking, remembering a photo I'd seen and just, what was that person's life like, and how does their family feel, and what's going, it was just so, it was too emotional.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how people cut that off.
You use a lot of dark humor. You have to compartmentalize a lot. And it comes in all different aspects. You have victims of so many different things, murder, of course, but burglaries and thefts and fraud. I did a lot of financial crimes and, and run of the mill, burglaries and, robbery and drugs and more drugs. But people can be victimized in so many different ways, and you have to be there to try to help them. And but that part of it, you do have to kind of be able to put it aside, I think. And not everybody can do that. I mean, it is a very hard thing to do. And I totally get that. See, I tried to do nursing and I couldn't do it. I was a candy striper for a week and I'm like, nope.
Yeah. And I think if someone more mature, if I had a better mentor maybe that said, look, you're going to be helping these families, you're the person who's going to help put this criminal away, and like reframed it rather than just like, this is too upsetting, I can't look at all these photos of dead children. It was really hard, but
absolutely.
Like a medical examiner, we went down to Grady Hospital and watched an autopsy. And I was like, I don't know how this person does this all day. This would be horrible. And she said, no, I'm helping. I'm bringing closure to the families. So I think it's all like how you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've always thought of ourselves, I guess. My husband was also in a district attorney's office. And I think we've always thought of ourselves as wearing the white hats, and that's how you're able to deal with the stress of the job, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, it's interesting how people from all walks of life end up selling on eBay. And it's like, a lot of people had a really stressful job and this is so fun. It's not like work. It all depends on your perspective, where you come from. And so, thrifting is therapy. And it is for me. I spend a lot of time at the computer making content. And it's like, I put on my calendar when I'm going thrifting again, because that's like a day out. That's like going to an amusement park for me. It's fun. So now you said you do mostly thrift stores?
Mostly. Yeah, garage sales when there's a season. That's for us. That's really we get started here about May and maybe till September because it's really hot and dry here in the summers.
Okay.
But the rain is here until about May. So generally that's when those pop up. And I do like to do the community garage sales. You know, those are great. The church sales are great. And those have just been, everything's been on hold, you know, for a couple of years. I do, we have a antique fair in a little town right next to us called Coburg. And that thing draws about 20,000 people. And I've been doing that show for 20 years, probably 15 years. So I have a friend that we do it together. So I always look forward to that because I sell there. And that's always fun. So I'm always looking for stuff for that too.
Now, do you only do eBay or are you on other sites?
No, I'm in 2 brick and mortar stores.
Right. So
But
it's
I
like
am
an antique
downsizing.
food.
Yeah, but I am downsizing to 1 this coming month. I want to focus more on eBay and on my other store. And I don't do any other platforms. My daughter is really into Facebook Marketplace. She sells shipping she does retail arbitrage, and she doesn't do it like me, but she does it. And she really likes Facebook, but I pretty much keep it to eBay.
Well, you know, it's a lot to learn all these different sites. So
Right.
And you travel a lot. I had
We
a hard
do.
time pinning you down to do this.
Well, we feel like, you know, we retired for a reason, and we really like to do traveling. We have one of our sons is in Denver, and then I have all my family back in North Carolina. So we like to get out and see the country when we can. We've done a lot of traveling through the Southwest, and now we're trying to expand that a little bit and get a little further east.
Do you have an RV or you just go?
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, we have a camper and we tow our Jeep.
Wow. So you're serious.
Oh yeah.
So your roots are in North Carolina.
Yes.
Well, I lived in Charlotte for 6 years.
Oh wow.
From 88 to 94.
And my mom was in Statesville. My mom and sister are in Statesville.
Okay. So I finally graduated after my 6 years of college from Queens.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a beautiful place to finish up. I know what I was going to ask you. Do you have grandchildren?
6.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding. And are they scattered everywhere?
We're a blended family. My husband has 2 sons and I have a son and a daughter. Our oldest is a police officer with University of Oregon, and he has 4. And then our other son is right outside of Denver in Parker, and they have 2 girls. So we have them close and we have them far away.
Okay. Yeah, that keeps you busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Because I didn't hear you say, "Oh, yeah, we went to so and so to visit our grandkids." It seems like you're doing your thing and you work them in along the way.
We do. Well, we had intent to go to Denver at the end of this last trip, but it was 6 degrees there. And we're like, no. So we're going to go there in May and see them.
Yeah, that's a better choice.
I don't preserve well in the cold.
Yeah, it's not fun. So how many items do you have in your eBay store?
I currently have about 375. I want to get it up to 400 as a next little mini goal. I don't want a huge store, but that seems like a good number to me. I did inventory for the first time at the end of 2021, and that was eye-opening because I had stuff that I thought was listed that wasn't. I had 2 items that I never found, so I delisted them. I still don't know where they are, but it helped me put like with like and really get organized. So now I know that there's only like 4 spots where I have listed inventory, and it's organized now. So I know where things are. So I found that to be a lot more valuable than I thought it was going to be when I started it.
Yeah, I recommend doing inventory twice a year, just like the retail stores. They do it in January and July.
Yeah.
And because you always find things that aren't listed.
Yeah.
And this is a known eBay glitch for those listening. We don't know why it happens. It just does. Things drop off. And I've talked to so many people about this. It has nothing to do with what you sell, how many items in your store, if you even have a store. Like, there's no common ground for this happening. It just happens to everybody. So if you're waiting for that super duper $200 item to sell, it may not even be listed, and that's why it's not selling. And it is a pain to do your inventory. I mean, you literally go item by item, make sure it's listed, make sure it's on your spreadsheet if you keep one, and then you do it backwards. You go onto your eBay account and look at what's listed and match that with the physical, because you might have things that are listed but that you don't have because you sold it. So
Right.
It's like a two-part process, matching the physical with the electronic and then doing that in reverse. But I usually do mine in November because, like we talked about, the time change. It's like, oh, I need something to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always find things that aren't listed. And so it's like, a bonus shopping trip that you didn't have to do. It's just stuff shows up.
And you asked me, if I do mostly thrift stores, and, since we had 4 kids at home, we're in a 5-bedroom house with a full basement and a big shop. So we are downsizing now. We're sort of in that active stage. So I'm selling a lot of stuff out of our house too. So that's another source.
Nothing wrong with that. And then, well, you're taking that off your kids' plate for later on.
For sure.
And it's just very liberating to do that process and, clean out that closet and clean out that room that nobody's using. And you have all this extra space, and you're making money, and you're rehoming stuff that people actually want.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay. Well, yeah, we're getting to the end here. The last question is, what kind of advice would you give to people just starting, or maybe who are hesitating like you were?
Just do it, as Nike says. You just have to put all that stuff aside and make yourself do that first listing, and it'll come. I mean, I do recommend listening to things and that kind of thing, but you have to get yourself out of the paralysis at some point and just make yourself do it, and it'll come. It'll happen.
It's like swimming. You can read all about it, you can watch videos, but until you jump in that pool and just do it, you have to put yourself out there, and there's really no mistake you can make that isn't fixable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So be fearless.
That's good.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule and your travel schedule. I caught you between trips, so that works. You're like, oh, I could do it from my on the road, but I'm not sure about the internet. And I was like, let's just wait till you get home.
That was a good idea. Well, I appreciate having me. It was really fun.
And so where's your next trip?
Palm Springs with my girlfriends on our annual retreat. Go down there before Coachella, because that's when all the rates go up.
That's a crazy thing.
Yeah, so we're going in early April before all that happens. We just ran out.
Okay. Well, they didn't do it during COVID, right?
No, I don't think they did. But boy, they're doing it this year, because I know they doubled the rentals. So
what she's talking about is Coachella, which is a outdoor festival in the desert, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember during 2020, I was selling trial size, sample size soaps, shampoos, all that kind of stuff. And somebody bought a big box of them. And she told me, yeah, I bought this because we always go to Coachella and we share our, travel toiletry things. But they're not having it this year. So I got to do something. So I'm buying these for next year.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's something I never would have thought of. So those are good sellers, the trial and sample size,
Right.
soap, shampoos, all that stuff. There's a market for that, but we could talk for hours. I told you this would go by fast.
It did, for sure.
Okay. Well, thanks again for coming on, and enjoy your trip with the girls.
Thank you. I will.
Okay. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode. I really appreciate all of you listeners out there. And I'm going to end with a motivational quote from the great Martha Stewart. This is kind of a funny one. She says, "So the pie isn't perfect. Cut it into wedges. Stay in control and never panic." And I like that part about cutting it into wedges, because really, if you break anything down to small steps, it's totally doable. That applies to eBay. There are a lot of moving parts, and you just break it down and learn one piece at a time, and then it just all comes together. Thanks again for listening, and I will be back next week with another seller interview. Have a great day on eBay. Bye.